Welcome everyone to the candidate forum for the New Lenox School Board. My name is Mary Wolf. I'm president of the New Lenox Council of Teachers. And I want to thank everyone, the candidates and the audience, for being here tonight. We will provide each candidate with the opportunity to deliver a 2-minute opening statement. Candidates are seated alphabetically and they will be asked questions in this order. The questions will be asked in a total of 4 rounds. During the first 3 rounds, candidates will pull a number from a bag, and the corresponding question number will appear on the screen. Candidates will have 2 minutes to answer. Once those questions have been asked a total of 3 times, for example, if somebody pulls number 8 and then somebody else pulls number 8, once a question has been answered 3 times, that question will be retired. Then in round 4, candidates will be asked a specific question based on a vision statement they provided to us. 2 minutes will also be allotted for this. And finally, candidates will have an opportunity to deliver a 2-minute closing statement, but this is not required. You might be all talked out. I am proud to now introduce Elise Carroll, a longtime teacher in our district, and she will be asking the questions this evening. Thank you.
So each candidate will have 2 minutes then to give their opening statement. We'd like you to please answer the first one, which is please define what you think your role as an existing or future member of the school board will look like. If you are also looking for additional things that you want to touch on, there is what inspired you to run for the board, what specific qualifications or strengths would you contribute to the board, what improvements do you envision for our district, and please add anything else you would like us to know about you.
Hi, I'm Adelheid Connolly. I'm running for the board, obviously. I think my role is to be a representative of the public when it comes to the public, parents, and teachers as well, when it comes to making policy decisions for the schools, taking it into advisement what the state sends down as well. What inspired me to run for the school board, well, it started off with the COVID response. I, as a parent, was attending a lot of meetings during that time and made my opinions well known. And I did not like how the state was kind of stepping on the local control aspect of things, because we decided here to let the kids come back with maskless, and then the state decided to step on that. And then the other thing that really has inspired me is this whole progressive sex ed bill that we, again, opted out of, and now the state is trying to force onto everyone as a graduation requirement. The improvements I envision for our, I skipped one. Qualifications and strengths. As a law enforcement officer, I'm pretty good at reading through law and all the boring legal speech that a lot of these statutes that get passed down as far as like what's required for schools and things like that. So I can pick through a lot of that stuff. I also ask a lot of questions. Again, being in law enforcement, I ask 10 million questions, and so I try to get to the bottom of things and get every detail sorted out to try to come out to the best outcome. Improvements do I envision for the district? I would love to improve the communication between the public and the administration and the board. Is that the timer? Okay.
That would be your time.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nicole DeGrave. Please define what you think your role is. So the role of the board is really to be Dr. Masha's boss. And so we are there to not micromanage, but to support and provide guidance. And she is the leader of the staff, and we are there to really view and step in if she needs the support, but really you're there to support her, that she's a good leader and that she manages the team. What inspired you to run for the board? Really in my DNA, it's to be an active community member. I am the PTO president of our school district. I also sit on a committee for Witches Night Out, which supports women and children in need. At work, I support 2 other charities. I'm not a person who just rides in my lane. I like to do more than what's asked of, and right now what's calling me is to be on the board. What improvements do you envision for our district? I think that we are in a fabulous district, and I want to support the trajectory of what's currently going on. One thing I would like to see is the topic of offering a full-day kindergarten curriculum. I would like to see what that would mean. I understand that means hiring more teachers, and we'd have to build a new building, but I would like to see what that would mean for New Lenox and if it was possible. Please add anything you would like to know about. I would just say that I'm here because of my heart and my care about New Lenox and the community, and that I really want to just support what we have going on in here because I really believe in it.
Hi, I'm Janine Kozlowski. Definitely what inspired me to do this is my son. My son is Austin Kozlowski. He attends the DK program at Spencer Trail. He is special needs, nonverbal, and in a wheelchair. He is completely dependent on staff at school the entire time he's there. I want to bring more attention to the special education program. These kids need a little more attention to thrive. There needs to be a little bit more of individuality teaching, and there needs to be a little bit more just attention brought to, I don't want to say what's lacking, because this school is amazing, this district is amazing, but some of the parents are struggling and are afraid to speak out about it. And I want every parent to feel that their kid is receiving what they need here, that their IEP goals, that an IEP isn't terrifying to walk into, to hear that your child isn't hitting the goals that are in there. I want them to realize that the school and the parents can work together to make it better. I definitely would want everyone to know that we moved to this town because we loved it. We moved to this town because we knew the schools were amazing. But I don't define a school district as being amazing by just test scores. I define a school district as being amazing by making sure every kid in the district gets what they need and deserves. Every school that has a special needs community needs to have an individual program, individual learning. The IEP is meant to make sure each kid is taught the way they need to be taught. Each kid learns a different way, whether it be a child with Down syndrome or my son with schizencephaly. The way he communicates is not like a typical child. And I believe I would bring insight to the board on that. Did I just done that? You just got done. Thank you. Thank you.
So this takes the place of our opening statement. Is that the way this works?
Yes, this is the opening
Gotcha.
statement.
Okay, thank you.
When I was looking at doing this, and
If you'd like to read what you wrote, you can. You don't have
Oh, I
to.
can?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
all right. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you this evening. My name is Mary Lambert, and I'm running for school board member for New Lenox District, school board member for New Lenox District 122. I've been married for 49 years, and I have 2 children, and I have 4 grandchildren. I also have 30 plus years as an RN in healthcare and corporate settings. I have a bachelor's degree in nursing. I've been certified as a case manager and as a legal nurse consultant. Our son, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren have lived in New Lenox for many years. The grandkids attended and are attending New Lenox District 122. We're very involved with them. I began to have an awakening somewhere between 2021 and 2022. I began to become more concerned about what kids were being taught. During this time, and with the research and information that I found, it appeared that societal concepts and ideologies were beginning to influence the education of our children. These concepts and ideologies did not appear to take into consideration the students' social, psychological development and readiness for these types of topics. And as a parent, I looked at, would I want these things being taught to my children, or would I even want my children being exposed to these things by teachers for that matter? Teachers in education, although important, seem to take precedence over the rights and concerns of parents. It became somewhat evident to me that parents did not seem to have parental representation on the school board itself and really didn't have input into such things as curriculum or what societal issues were being taught. Parents really didn't appear to have an advocate or a voice. I've been retired now for a few years, but it's time for me to come out of retirement and put my knowledge and skills in a different way. I'm a grandmother, and a grandmother never stops being a parent. I want to champion the parents on this board, and also champion my grandchildren and my future children in the district. I want to provide a voice for parents and advocate for them as a school board member, all the while working with the board to ensure excellent educational outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Stephanie Pelter, and I am a parent of 3 children that go to Tyler and Bentley. Undoubtedly, the pandemic took its toll on everyone, but it seems to have hit our little kids a little bit more. Teachers are now dealing with different types of stress post-pandemic. Students who have the enlarged the educational spectrum. In addition to the learning gap, we're now faced with all sorts of social emotional issues to a whole new degree. Teachers are on the front end of helping our kids recover from the past few years and need more support than ever. We need to back the training our teachers want and need to be able to better handle the types of social emotional challenges that you all are facing every day. Schools across the country are also experiencing something that we never thought would happen: severe teacher shortages. College education programs are being cut back due to lack of interest, current teachers are resigning, and others are taking early retirement. In my time in New Lenox, I have met some of the most dedicated teachers and administrators. Your love for our children and the education truly shows that you're not in this profession for the paycheck. But everybody knows that teachers do not make enough money for what they do. So I fully support a higher salary increase in the next contract. Not just because of the current economic conditions, but also above all else, our District 122 educators deserve it. As a former school board member and vice president of the Worth School District 127 board, our teachers knew how much we valued them. In my time there, we supported teachers and staff by approving major capital improvements, contracts, and policy. We were able to have successful contract negotiations with both the teachers union as well as our support staff union. In that same position, we were able to do capital improvements to all 3 schools and district office with renovations and addition at no additional expense to our community taxpayers. One of my final acts as a board member there, and one that I'm most proud of, is the ability to approve a $1,000 pandemic compensation bonus for all of our staff members. Since moving to New Lenox, I have been to almost every school board meeting because I feel that it's important to understand what's happening within our schools. I want to be a part of our school board because I see the need of our students, educators, and community. I want to help continue to modernize our school facilities and make sure that our students and staff all have access to the best technology and space available. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Bill Pender. I'd like to start out by thanking the teachers for holding this event and for the tremendous work you do day in and day out in our schools. A little background about myself: I'm the youngest of 15 kids from hometown. I've lived in New Lenox since 2006 with my wife of 22 years, Jen, and our 3 daughters, Audrey, Caroline, and Sophie. I currently hold a bachelor's degree in social studies with a minor in secondary ed from St. Xavier, along with an endorsement to teach high school math. A master's degree in educational administration from Governor State, an MBA also from Governor State, and a doctorate in educational leadership from University of St. Francis. I've worked in schools for over 20 years as a math and social studies teacher, an assistant principal, and currently as a superintendent and principal of a small grade school district. I've served on the 122 board for the past 8 years, with my first 4 years serving as board president. The schools were the single biggest factor that influenced my decision to move my family to New Lenox, and the first thing I speak about when I'm asked what I like about New Lenox. With my 3 daughters being graduates of 122, I've witnessed firsthand how well the district prepared them for high school and beyond. My oldest two daughters went to JCA where I had worked, and I had multiple teachers who were notoriously tough tell me how well New Lenox prepared their students. I decided to run for re-election because I feel during my time on the board, I've been able to contribute with my work experience and what I believe is my student-focused approach to my decisions while protecting the taxpayer interests. I'm of the belief that the school board should serve as a support system for the schools. It's the teachers, staff, and administrators that do the daily work, and we should be there in any way we can to help. When I was elected in 2015, I feel the board started to work together to become more student-focused and less of a distraction. The 2 years prior to my election, the district legal fees were approximately $97,000, and the 2 years after were $39,000. This was due to our entire board working together to do what was best for kids and not being a distraction. I cannot stress enough how proud I am of our district, and I hope to be able to serve for 4 more years. Thank you.
All right. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Ignacio Rojas Jr., also known as Iggy. I am currently a PE teacher at District 146 in Tilling Park, and I've been teaching for 6 years. I have done regular education PE and adaptive PE, and had special ed experience throughout the alternative schools that I've worked at prior to 146. My wife and I are foster parents and have taken in 12 foster children over the past 8 years here in the Lenox. Advocating for them and their needs, especially in the school setting, is of utmost importance to us. And over the past few years, and I would love to further do that for the children and families of this community as well. Service in the community has been something that I love and enjoy doing. Through my undergrad, I worked at a large homeless shelter outside of Chicago named Hesed House, and I also served as a Marine and served this country and representing them in the U.S., Japan, Australia, Thailand, Korea. Service runs in my blood. As a teacher, as a parent, as a veteran, I now feel called to serve the children and families of this community. I cannot emphasize how great of a school district we currently have, and we can only contribute that to our school board and the leadership of Dr. Mosh and the great staff that we had here so far. This opportunity is especially important to me because I will also have a daughter that will be attending the district, and I currently have a son that currently attends the district as well too. So for myself, that's why I wanted to run for the school board, my family, just to meet the need for service, serve my family and the families of the community, and I'm just really happy to actually be here, especially this first time running. So thank you guys for the opportunity as well too.
Ms. Connolly and Mr. Gray, did you have a prepared statement, to be fair? Would you like to read that if you
I
have
did
one?
too. But
Oh, did you?
I'll read mine
Okay.
at the end, that's fine.
Okay. Sorry, the directions were slightly unclear there.
That's okay. Adapt and overcome. So I was going to tell you all about how, here we go. Thank you for having me. I appreciate this opportunity. A little bit about me is I'm a resident of the Lincoln Way area for the last 40 years. My entire life I have lived in Mokina or New Lenox. 9 years ago, my husband and I moved here because we were going to have our daughter. And we wanted to live here because this is the safest and best schools. And again, I said I am a police officer. I had to live within the county where I worked, so that of all of the places in all of Will County, this was the best one for me. Again, I have 2 kids, a daughter who's 8, she is at Tyler, and a son who's 5 who will start kindergarten next year. I've been a police officer for 12 years. As such, I'm in the FOP, so I understand the importance of a good union, just saying. I have lots of ideas on keeping the schools safe and different things that we could do to try to improve. I mean, God knows, with Uvalde happening last year, ripping everybody's hearts out about those kids, that was another motivator for me, was trying to get on here to try to make some difference there. I already told you why I got in here, or why I was motivated to run, but a little more on that sex ed thing. It really, really bothers me, taking the innocence away from kids, and 70% of the schools opted out of that, and then the state tries to push it. And I would love to be aligned between the state and what is happening here in New Lenox, because local control is absolutely huge. Chicago and Springfield have no idea about New Lenox and our values, and they should not be able to push all of this stuff that we're not ready for here. I'd love to return to the basics of education. I think that in so many occupations, we get spread out in all kinds of different directions, and teachers are expected to be therapists and counselors, and they're supposed to teach kids about all kinds of stuff that's not really basic education stuff. And I think sometimes some things get lost, and our schools are great. I love how the kids are doing, how, especially my daughter, what she's bringing home, but a return to hard science, history, math, and reading, etc. Things like that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nicole DeGrave. I am a mother of 3 children in District 122, a military wife, and an active community member. I'm currently the PTO president of District 122 and have been an active member since my oldest child was in kindergarten. I'm also a committee member of Witches Night Out, which is a non-for-profit that supports women and children in need in our own county, Will County. Professionally, I'm an account manager for a major group insurance carrier where I manage group benefits for clients. Within my employer, I also sit on several business resource groups that support specific populations, such as veterans and women. I'm currently taking a legal certification course through my employer, which will allow me to be a legal advocate for veterans. As you can tell, service is in my heart and really in my DNA. It has been a long-time goal of mine to serve our community in this capacity. Good citizenship has always been important to me and one of the main reasons I am running for the school board. I believe in the importance of being an active member of my community. Additionally, having children in our school district means that I have a vested interest in the success of District 122. My professional experience, my passion for education, and my involvement in the PTO provides me valuable input and experience for being a member of the board. Our new Lenox community is based on the strong educational foundation that we and our school district provide to our children. Most of our residents moved to New Lenox for our top-notch education. This is one of the main reasons I am excited at the opportunity to serve on the school board. My family has benefited greatly from the wonderful New Lenox school community. I feel that it is time for me to give back and support our future in this capacity. Through our 3 children, I have seen firsthand the positive results of hard work and dedication on behalf of the District 122's educators. I look forward to the opportunity to support our community, students, staff, and the superintendent as a member of the board.
Am I okay to read mine too? Yeah. Okay, we all know I'm Janine Kozlowski. I've already said that. I am a full-time special needs mom. My husband, Justin, is a 597 superintendent, pipe fitter. We moved to New Lenox about 7 years ago. We moved here because we love this town. We were going through the adoption process and knew these schools were amazing. We knew we wanted to raise our child here. We adopted Austin the day after he was born. He is now 6 years old and attends the DK program at Spencer Trail. He has been in the district for 3 years. Austin has special needs, he is nonverbal, and in a wheelchair. He is completely dependent on school staff during his day. I am so grateful to his teachers and aides because Austin loves school. I'm running for school board because I need to bring a voice to the special needs community. I want to bring attention to what these kids need to succeed, what these kids need to thrive. I may not be a teacher or an administrator, but what I am is a mom who lives this every day. I understand that being part of a board member is a lot of policy and procedure, but that can be taught. I am already known as a strong voice in the special needs community, so much so that countless families have reached out to me for advice. I have worked with the district administration many times to overcome challenges. I have set up and facilitated training on my son's communication device. I want to become a board member because I feel I can have a better impact on giving the special education program the attention it needs and deserves. I feel I can give the board some insight into the special needs community. I bring a unique perspective, and because of this, I understand that families feel they just want to be heard, whether it be special ed or gen ed. For Austin, it isn't just a chance, this isn't just school. It's a chance for one day for him to speak with the help of a speech therapist. It's the chance for him to one day walk with the help of a physical therapist. It's inclusion, having friends in a place where he feels accepted, in a world that doesn't offer that very often. Running for school board is personal for me. This is for my amazing son and the families I have come to know. Can I keep going? Okay. My son works hard every day to overcome his challenges. I want to work just as hard to give him everything he needs to achieve his goals, and I believe becoming a board member will have a huge impact on that. I know what you do as teachers is tough. You are expected to be more than just educators, and I appreciate everything that you do for our children. Thank you for hosting this event. Thank you for giving me a chance to tell you a little bit about my world. I hope to be given the opportunity to keep educating people about our community.
Why don't we start with Mrs. Lambert, don't you think, to pick the numbers in, since it's been going down long? All right, Mrs. Lambert, I'm going to have you pick a number from your bag, and then that will give you the number of the question, and they will project that on the board.
8. 8.
Okay. Children of all ages are showing evidence of anxiety and other mental health issues. To what extent should our school system support our families with such struggles?
You know, mental health is a very, very important aspect of a child's development and for a family's development. And in the school system, you know, it's not just the child, it's not just the teacher, it's the family structure as well. I really believe that schools should offer mental health type counseling for the child, and also to support them in those areas. And to help identify anxiety very, very early, because it can get into, it can grow into something else, much more serious, to identify some of those triggers, and that the parent and the teacher work together to identify this and to get the child the help that he needs.
Thank you. Mrs. Pelser, would you like to pick your next number from your bag? What are your 3 overall education priorities that, in a perfect world, you would accomplish during your time in office? How will you go about achieving them? Why are these the most important?
I think my number one priority is, getting back to the last question, is mental health, and realizing that not only the pandemic, but even prior to the pandemic, caused all of our kids to suffer, and they're all struggling. And I think that teachers are on that front end of dealing with that and need the support and backing from the board to be able to get them the training that they want to be able to handle that. So first, that would be a top priority for me. I think continuing the updating of our facilities and our technology system within the school district. Our schools, some of our buildings are quite old and need renovation, and the current school board is doing a great job of getting that done on an annual basis, but just continuing with that and recognizing that that is also very important in making sure that all of our facilities are up to date. And then finally, I think just taking care of our teachers. I think that children are obviously the number one focus of any school district, but our teachers are the ones that are right there dealing with our kids every day firsthand and having that communication between parents and teachers. So being able to support them any way that the board is able to support them, I think is a huge priority that should be top on any board's priority list. Not interfering with the administration that was hired to do their jobs. I don't believe that the board is there to interfere with the administration and the teachers and tell them what to do, but more to back them up and help them with what they need. So.
Mr. Pender?
Three.
During a school year, new needs arise. New students requiring services move in. Staff takes a leave of absence. How do you plan to budget for these additional expenses? And from where would you redirect additional funds to ensure required services are provided?
Well, in my current job in a small school, you are required to be superintendent, principal, and business manager. So I got to I have to create a budget this year with that in mind. And that being said, you have to have these, you do have to plan for the unexpected. And it's not necessarily even taking money from someplace else. It's kind of over budgeting the expense of substitute teachers, of, teacher salaries. You have to almost over budget that in the expense column. Now, if you start to get, in this district, we set money aside for construction projects. And that money is only used if it's available at the end of the year. And so that's obviously, there's a transfer of monies at the end of the year to be able to make those, do those construction projects. So here, again, we over budget for the expenses, which is the right way to do it. And if we ended up using more of those, then we would just reduce the amount of projects that were available to fund. So,
Mr. Rojas?
Four.
What are your 3 overall education priorities that, in a perfect world, you would accomplish during your time in office? How will you go about achieving them? Why are these the most important?
I would definitely say first and overall is just, especially right now with the pandemic, is making sure we cover the deficit that we've had over the past couple of years with the pandemic and just the lack of being in school and the things that have occurred over the past few years, and just filling in the gap and catching up our students wherever we need to be at, if there are any at that point. That could be fulfilled by just extra time added on whatever subject areas, or find the support system that the students need in order to meet that criteria. For second thing, I would also agree our schools are a little outdated as well too. I'm not saying that we're in shambles here or anything like that, but there could be improvements made in some of the buildings as well, just to make the learning environment a little better for our students. And lastly, just being a foster parent, I just feel like the support for our foster children just be something that's super important for me. Just ensuring that the needs are met. I mean, it's one of the goals for the board and the district is ensuring that the whole child is taken into consideration when we are trying to meet their needs. So just every child should have that support. I mean, we talked about special education as well too. I think that's just the utmost importance as well, because sometimes they're just someone that's just pushed off to the side and not really. I'm not saying that we don't care so much about the SPED program or anything like that we have here. I'm just saying that those are, I feel like those are most kids that are at risk and the most at need. So I think those 3 things would be for me.
Okay, back to you, Mrs. Conley.
Number 9.
What are 2 to 3 strengths of which our district can be proud? Why do you see these as strengths?
So, as I said, I lived here my whole life, like in Mokina, growing up, and then as an adult here. When I was in high school, I was in marching band. So I saw the most talented feeder school when I was in high school was from all the Martino Junior High kids coming into Lincoln Way High School band were phenomenal. And coming to the board meetings all this time, I absolutely love the music program here. They had the concert in the winter at the board meeting, and that's a huge strength. I think that the fine arts in this school is awesome. That's one that I love, and I'm so proud of. And the other thing I'm proud of is I'm very, very proud of the positivity and I just think that the relationship between the teacher and the kids at this school is fantastic. My daughter has loved every teacher she's had here, and I think that you guys are a huge asset because the relationships you build with the kids. Why do I see these as strengths? Because they all help the kids develop and grow into well-rounded human beings. That's why. And that's the ultimate goal.
Thank you, Mrs. DeGrave.
Four.
What are your 3 overall education priorities that, in a perfect world, you would accomplish during your time in office? How will you go about achieving them? Why are these the most important?
Well, one of them for me would be, as I stated earlier, would be looking into that full-time curriculum program for kindergarten. I think it's important that the items that the kids are lacking by not having full day that they get, which would be the library once a week, gym once a week. I would even argue that it's important for kids to learn how to be individuals and self-sufficient by opening their lunchbox and just doing those independent works that they aren't getting with only the half day. It was actually how I was introduced into the school district. We moved here from Austin, Texas, and I got my note in the mail that said my daughter was PM, and I was like, PM what? And I wrote an email to the principal, and that lovely principal called me and reassured me that everything was going to be okay. Sophia was not going to be at a deficit, and that was how I was introduced to Dr. Mosh. Because that is just the kind of support that the school district does. So that is really important to me, although I do believe that my daughter and my sons are receiving a top-notch education. I just would love to see a full-time offering. Additionally, I would say continuing with the technology. I think the one-on-one iPad is amazing, but we all know that technology is always growing, and I would just love to see us grow with it and continue. I all the time am thinking when I'm at work, man, if I would have went into IT or if I would have learned how to do this. And actually, a joke that I always say with the teachers when we are doing fundraisers is like, which one of you is going to do the Google Doc with Excel spreadsheet? You know, I've told you this joke because I'm like, it is not me. So just continuing so that they are lifelong learners of technology and that our district grows with whatever the current happenings are. And then I would also reiterate that capital project renovation. We live on the north side of town, so we're Oakview, Haynes. So those buildings are a little bit older, but the district does a really great job to make sure updates are done every year. So I just would say that we continue with those updates.
Okay, Mrs. Kozlowski. Question 4 has been retired since it's been answered 3 times. So you've got 5. Nope,
No,
we're
5
good
is
with
good.
5.
Just no more 4.
What are your personal aspirations or perceived conflicts of interest that could be impacted by board service?
So I definitely am sitting here today because of my son. I see every day in therapy, at home, and at school how hard he fights to achieve things that come easy to most people. And I want to see more attention brought to those services. I want more time for those services. I want to see every kid in special ed or gen ed. I mean, I understand that not just the special ed community needs speech or needs certain therapies. So I want to see that they have enough time to fit that into their day. Conflicts of interest impacted by board service. I really don't believe I have any conflict of interest when it comes to becoming a board member. I'm a mom who will do whatever it takes to make sure my kid and the kids of this district get what they need. I'm not going to be the type of person who just goes with the flow. If I see something that I believe needs more attention, I'm going to say it. If I see a situation where a kid is struggling, I'm going to point it out. If I have a mom reach out to me and say, I'm too afraid to speak out because I don't want to be labeled a difficult parent, I'm going to talk out for that mom. And it breaks my heart to see that a lot of parents are afraid to speak out because they are afraid that their child might get treated differently at school. And I'm not saying that that is what would happen, but that is what a lot of parents feel. And I want to change that. I want to make it where the school district and the parents have a happy interaction and can make things better together. Like I said before, I don't look at a district saying that we're the best because of test scores. We're the best because every child should get the services they need. Every child, whether it be gen ed or special ed, whatever situation brings that they need special attention. If a child in a classroom has struggles learning the way the teacher teaches, then it's time to put that child aside and teach him a different way.
This is round 2 then, yes? Okay.
Six.
Historically, high school teachers are paid significantly more than elementary school teachers. In your opinion, does this gap need to be closed?
Yes, it does. And I'm not just, I mean, I really think that teachers are sometimes just undervalued. And you could say, okay, high school is a higher level, but you have to put up with things too that maybe the high school teachers don't. They may have a little more, they may have maybe a little bit of a higher education or certificate, but I think that I kind of compare it to like, I hate to say it, but like nursing, and if you worked in the corporate area, if you did hospital reviews versus being a case manager, you still use the same skill set but in different areas, and you should be paid, it should be equal. And I really think that if you guys are making less money, I don't think that's right. I hope I made my point clear. Thanks.
Mrs. Powell? What are your personal aspirations or perceived conflicts of interest that could be impacted by board service?
Personally, I just strive to know as much as I can. And so whether that's in my personal life and my professional life, or if it's serving as a board member, I am a person that asks question after question after question until I fully understand the answer. It's one of the reasons that as soon as we moved to this area, I started coming to school board meetings immediately, because I think it's important to have all of the information before you are intelligently able to speak about it. So I think having just the aspiration of continuing that as a board member and making sure that I am able to gather all of the information that is needed to make the decisions that are brought before the board, and take my personal beliefs out of the system and look at more of what is the value of the community and what is the value of our teachers and administrators and what's important to our students. So just being able to ask those questions until I get a full answer and not letting it go until I get a full answer.
Mr. Pender? Four.
Seven.
Thank you. In your opinion, what are the top 2 factors that contribute to a student's success?
First, I would say number 1 is early intervention. And not just in the schools, I'm talking early intervention at home. We're getting away from the time where parents read to their kids. You know, it's very easy to give them an iPad or a phone, and, you know, there are kids not being read to. Dolly Parton will send you a free book every month for your first 5 years you were born if you want it. But parents, you know, we got to get back to actually early intervention with the parents. And then second, the biggest, as far as actually in school, it has to come back to parent, teachers working together. I think often enough that's become adversarial, that, you know, it's you against them, and it should never be that way. Because both have the same goal, and that's to educate the kids. And unfortunately, often enough, it becomes adversarial, which it should not be, because the goal, like, as I said, the goal is the same. But you know, I grew up in a time where I came home, I got in trouble. It was, what'd you do? Why? You know, what'd you do? It wasn't, you know, oh, let me go call the teacher. If they were going to call the teacher, they were just reassuring that I was going to get my butt whooped. So, but yeah, those are the two things there.
Mr. Rojas?
9.
What are 2 to 3 strengths of which our district can be proud? Why do you see these as strengths?
I think a lot is like the parent-teacher communication. Just having my own kid here in the district and the kids that I've had in the past, and just the relationship the kids have with their teachers, I think it's awesome. My kids, I really enjoy when my students get like emails, or my kids get emails from the teachers, and we're like, oh, hey, did you hear what Miss So-and-so said about you today? And they're like, what? And just telling them about that. So I really love the parent-teacher communication, and just the district as a whole, and the academics we have here. Yes, I understand that test scores are, you know, what people look for, but I just think the overall environment that the kids have, and just the acceptance that they have in the school district, and just how my kids have flourished every time. All the kids that I've had have flourished when they come here, whether they're to find the right people that they need here, or maybe that one teacher where they couldn't build a relationship at the other schools, and just having them grow here, and just seeing the significant change in their, and just the way they think, and just their just socializing with us, period, is just awesome. So I'm just really happy that we're here in this district, and I think just having these kids come here and them flourishing here is just speaks numbers to me. So I really like this district for myself, my kids, and for my bonus kids, I guess.
Mrs. Conley?
Number 5.
What are your personal aspirations or perceived conflicts of interest that could be impacted by board service?
So, as I said, I am a law enforcement officer. As such, my shift runs from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We do 12-hour shifts, and we rotate every couple days. It's like 2 days on, 2 days off. So the biggest thing that I am concerned is time management, as far as I work long hours, and if I get a call at 5:45, I have to go. And if the school board meeting starts at 6 p.m. and I'm on an accident, I can't leave the accident to be at the school board meeting. And that said, I have kids, so I have to make sure that I have home balance, plus all of the literature that I'm going to have to read and everything else. That said, I can overcome all of this with, making sure I take an hour buffer before the end of my shift, so that I can, use my comp time and everything else. So I can work through it, but that's probably the biggest concern that I've had as far as conflicts. Other than that, there's no other concern of conflicts of interest that I can think of.
Mrs. Dupree?
10.
I'm sorry.
10?
10.
said that kind of weird very well. Because it was a new one.
Thank goodness, right? What is the number one issue facing our district today? How would you address this issue?
I think one of the main things that I hear from my daughter, she's 10, she's in 5th grade, that I don't remember hearing when I was growing up or, previously, is the word anxiety. I feel like the kids are stressed out on a level that I didn't see before. Actually, my daughter is an overachiever, and today she got a B on her spelling test. And Dr. Moss, you don't know this, but she was crying in the bathroom right before you came in, and you made her day by walking in. So I feel like these little sweet children put so much pressure on themselves, and I feel like the school district does a really great job of reinforcing that they have outlets. So our daughter does go down and see the therapist at the school when she starts to feel anxiety, and that was certainly not something that was offered when I was in school. I wasn't able to go speak to someone, or they give her, she's able to have like a stress ball, and there's just all these different outlets that the school district provides and resources that I don't think were there before. And I think that's really great.
Thank you. Mrs. Kozlowski?
7.
In your opinion, what are the top 2 factors that contribute to a student's success?
Definitely our teachers. We need to make sure that our teachers are not overworked, that they have the support they need. Definitely in our special education classrooms, there's aides, and we require those aides for the success of the classroom. Most of our kids in our classes need one-on-one aides. If our teachers are exhausted and overworked and don't have the support system they need, how do we expect them to do their best to teach our kids? How do you go to work knowing that your day is going to be horrible because you're understaffed, underpaid, and then treat kids awesome and help them learn? So I definitely think that one of the things, we lost probably the best aide my son's ever had because of pay. She moved to a different district. So I would like to look into making sure the aides are paid correctly, making sure the teachers are paid correctly, making sure that if we want the best, we have to pay to get the best. And I know the district has the money to do it. So we need to figure out in the budget how to get that to them. If we expect them to be the best for our kids, then we have to treat them the way we want them to treat our kids.
Okay, so question 5 is retired, so that's been answered 3 times, so if you get 5, and this is our 3rd round.
So I have 6 again, so what happened?
6 is okay, I believe, that's still open.
Oh, it's a 9? Oh, yeah, it is a 9.
I think 9's okay
Put
too.
your glasses on.
What are 2 to 3 strengths of which our district can be proud? Why do you see these as strengths?
I'm a grandparent, but yet I hang out a lot with the grandkids. And they'll be home and they'll be doing their homework and they'll bring different things up, or I'm learning this, or my teacher did this or said that. Nothing bad, mind you, nothing bad at all. But I just really see where the excellence, there's just such an excellence in teaching in this district, where my grandchildren have done very well in high school because of being in this district. I also see how the teachers really seem to care about the students, and the teachers seem very, very approachable. I've been coming to some board meetings, and I really see how dedicated the board members are to the school. And I really come to realize, again, I hear my grandkids and stuff, but this is just a really good school district. I'm happy that I moved here. We had to downsize. I moved closer to the grands and to my family. But I just really see it, dedication and excellence, and it really allows the child to succeed and have the skills that they need to go in for high school. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Mrs. Pelzer? Nine is retired now, sorry. Choose again, please. 10. What is the number one issue facing our district today? How would you address this issue?
I've said it before, but I think that mental health is facing the challenges of dealing with our children's mental health problems are the number one issue in our district and a lot of other districts. Just by giving the teachers the support that they need and the training that they need, what they're asking for to be able to help our students and help our kids. I think everybody's kind of touched on it, but anxiety, you know, in kids is high, anxiety in teachers is high, anxiety, it's just high everywhere for everybody. So being able to give the people that are on the front end of dealing with our kids every day the ability to successfully handle the issues that arise on a day-to-day basis. So.
Mr. Pender?
Again.
Okay, what is the number one issue facing our district today? How would you address this issue?
I think the number one issue facing our district and really facing almost every district in the country is the COVID loss. It's still significant, and you know, I think probably maybe next year's kindergartners might be the first ones not impacted by it. And I, think it's important to still keep small class sizes, still to continue hiring the best people, and again, work as a partnership with the parents, develop more programs, and work closely with, something like, the groups like the New Lenox Public Library. They have great reading programs, and get these kids still learning over the summer, because this loss is going to be with us for, quite a few years. And like I say, keeping class size down right now is going to be the most important thing, because every school in the country is going to be facing the same thing. And I would say we face it less, because now last year, the year before, we were in school way more than almost every district in the state, but it's still there. And I think, people lose sight of that. But, this district made sure to keep everybody, or, we were in school probably 80 to 85% of the days that year, where, a couple districts right down the street were not in at all. And, but again, we still have that learning loss. And that, to me, goes with the anxiety, because these students with the learning loss, that does create anxiety. But again, I would go with the smaller class sizes and continuing with the early interventions and working together as a partnership with the parents and with local organizations.
Mr. Rojas, question 10 is now retired as well. So 5, 9, and 10.
8.
Okay, that'll work. Children of all ages are showing more evidence of anxiety and other mental health issues. To what extent should our school system support our families with such struggles?
I know in our school district, we kind of extended our SEL time that we have with our kids, and they do a program called Second Step. So that could be potentially something that could, if they are doing it here, or if not, that could be introduced, and do for support at home and families and stuff. I think that's, again, where the parent and teacher communication needs to hold up and be maintained, and if not improved, if it's not there, to help with those kind of struggles as well too. But in our district, I feel like we pushed really hard SEL, especially this past year and while we were in the COVID sessions, just because that was something that we saw that was totally needed and necessary. And academics, yes, at the time were kind of pushed to the side for that time. Not saying that it wasn't important, but just the mental health was something super important that we pushed, and I felt like I'm not saying that second step program I'm representing and they endorse me or anything like that, but I'm just saying SEL, looking into SEL is something that would be important.
Mrs. Conley.
I also got 8.
Children of all ages are showing more evidence of anxiety and other mental health issues. To what extent should our school system support our families with such struggles?
So I take kind of a different avenue on this because I am real big on returning to the basics of what school is supposed to be. So I realize nobody wants to see kids in crisis, but I also realize that teachers are teachers and they're not therapists. So I think the best plan is to identify when there's an issue, communicate with the parents and the families, and make referrals where necessary. I think there's plenty of resources out there in the community as far as like even some that work on sliding scales as to what families can afford that are better suited and more focused with their purpose in helping kids who are going through anxiety and mental health issues. Like I said, identify it. I'm not saying ignore it, but I just don't think that it's necessarily the school's role to be counseling children in this way. Plus, I think it detracts a little bit from the classroom itself and what the focus of education is supposed to be.
Mrs. DeGrave, we have now retired question 8. So 8, 9, 10.
Oh, I got 8, of course.
Okay. 8, 9, 5, 8, 9, and 10 are retired.
7.
7.
In your opinion, what are the top 2 factors that contribute to a student's success?
I think we've all kind of said how amazing our school district is. So I would say outside of that, it is the parents and the students themselves. Parents holding their children accountable and checking in with them, being their first line of defense. Homework is the first thing we do when our kids get home. We do it every single night. And also them being accountable for what's due. My daughter's in 5th grade. She should know what homework she should have. She should know she has a social studies test on Thursday. So I would say parents and student accountability.
Okay, Mrs. Kozlowski, 7 is now retired as well.
8 is retired, right?
Yes. So we've got 7, 8, 9, and 10. 4 is okay. No. Sorry.
3 and 6 is really all that's not very
4 is retired too? Keep going.
Yes.
3?
3. During a school year, new needs arise. New students requiring services move in. Staff takes a leave of absence. How do you plan to budget for these additional expenses? And from where would you redirect additional funds to ensure required services are provided?
So I would have to say, without having any knowledge of our current budget, that I wouldn't know exactly where to reallocate funds from, but I know I would definitely keep it away from our teachers and our students. It needs to stay as far away from the classroom as possible. It definitely, I don't have the budget in front of me to know where extra funds could be pulled from, but I definitely would keep it away from the classroom, the students, the teachers, the aides. If we try to not impact the children is the main goal there. I guess that's pretty much my answer. Keep it away from the classroom.
Okay, we are ready for closing statements, if you have them.
No, we were ready for candidates.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you.
So we are going to ask candidate-specific questions. So we have one specific question for each of you that we've prepared based on the statements that you provided to us, and then we'll go into your closing statements afterward in the last round. So, candidate Conley, in your vision statement, you mentioned making our schools a safer place. What specifically does the district need to do differently in order to make our schools safer?
I love this question. Okay, so there's so many different things that can be done to make the school safer. So starting from when the kids come in off the bus, something as simple as a heavy concrete planter could be a barrier between a car running over a student and you know, whether or not they make it safely in the door. That's number one. You can get a product from 3M that costs pennies that you can put onto windows that are shatterproof so that people can't break into the building as easily. There's opportunity for fencing around property to keep people from getting in back doors like they did at Uvalde. We have one, I was talking to the school resource officer here recently, and she said that she has like 12 schools. And again, going back to the Uvalde situation, there was one resource officer for multiple schools there, and he was not where he needed to be on the day. So having one resource officer that skips between the different schools makes it very difficult to have a safe learning environment. Also, just as far as for the teachers even, like on a smaller scale, not looking at the big, ugly, scary things, you can day to day keeping classroom order where you're not having as many disruptions because students are held responsible for their behaviors. There's also bleeding kits. You know, in case there is a bad emergency, having things like, so a regular tourniquet doesn't fit on a child's arm, but a SWAT-T tourniquet, which is like basically a giant rubber band. They're very inexpensive, and if every teacher had one in their desk, if there was a terrible emergency, then they'd have something in order to stop bleeding, in order to help people. Pressure bandages, training. I mean, we do the ALICE training and things like that at my department, and I know sometimes the world is scary and nobody really likes to think about these kind of things happening, but think about it like a fire drill. A fire drill is something that is training to get you in the mindset for survival in an incident of death or great bodily harm. It's the same thing for a school shooter drill. Having people prepared mentally for these kind of things is a huge, huge asset, because when you're in a adrenaline dump, your body does what you train it to do. And if there is a bad emergency, all these little kids are going to be having that same adrenaline dump that adults do, and they need to know, they need to have an automatic response that keeps them safe. And teachers need to have automatic responses to keep them safe, and the kids too. So, just a couple ideas.
Thank you. Candidate DeGrave, in your vision statement, you mentioned that you would like to see students empowered to be active members in the community. Can you elaborate on any ideas you have for programs that would foster student involvement in the community?
Yeah, so I love how at National Honor Society is required to do service hours, because that's really how we are able to run programs with the PTO. So I would love to see it being more incorporated with our lower grades. Not necessarily requirements, but different programs and activities that we could have where we can all get out and maybe like pick up the litter day, or some type of involvement in our community that's school bound or classroom bound, to focus on have our students learn how to be more actively involved as a community member. Because I started off when I was probably like 7 years old. My grandma and I would stand outside Jewel and collect money for Habitat for Humanity. And I feel like if you get them while they're young and instill the importance of being an active member of your community, then it always sticks with them. So I would just say coming up with programs that would involve our schools and our actual classrooms.
Thank you. Candidate Kozlowski, in your vision statement, you mentioned that you would love to see the district giving more attention to the special education program. In which aspects do you see us not giving proper attention, or which aspects would you address?
I definitely want to see the district and the parents able to work together better. Like I said before, parents, a lot of the times, are uncomfortable to come forward with their concerns, and then that means their child doesn't get what they need. In my opinion, the parents are the experts when it comes to the special needs kids. We know our kids. We're with them 24/7. And the IEP team, they're amazing. Our speech therapists, they're all awesome with our kids. But when it really comes down to it, we know our children. We know what they need, and we're taking the advice of the experts. But we need to work together to make sure that if a parent believes that the way their child is receiving a speech therapy isn't working, then you need to sit down and maybe have another IEP meeting and say, okay, how can we fix this? We need to make sure that no parents are told there isn't enough time, because that is something I have been told. There just isn't enough time. And when you have a child who, the fact that he could speak one day, he could walk one day, he could learn just as well as any other kid in the school, but you're told that there isn't enough time in the day, that just isn't acceptable to me. We need to figure out how to fix that. We need to figure out how to repair the relationship between the teachers, the staff, and the parents to where we feel safe speaking out. And they don't need somebody like me who's not afraid to talk for them. It shouldn't be where I'm okay saying, I don't care if the teachers or staff like me, because my main concern is my son. I want him to flourish. So I want to fix things to where we can all work together and it be happy. It doesn't need to be uncomfortable. It doesn't need to have parents dreading IEP. Special needs parents don't need to dread the beginning of the school year. It's unfortunate that that is how it is. And I can't imagine that there are other parents other than in special education who feel the same sometimes. And I know this is taboo and I know nobody wants to talk about it, but I'm going to. I'm going to bring light to this because my son deserves the best. And if I have to keep saying it over and over and over again, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going away. And you either want to work with us or you don't, and it's just going to be uncomfortable and difficult because parents are going to start standing up for their kids when it comes to these IEPs. And we need to figure out how to work together.
Thank you. Mrs. Lambert? Candidate Lambert, in your vision statement, you mentioned that you would like to see parents have a voice in what their children are learning. What specific changes would you like to see made with respect to what the students are learning?
First of all, I understand with the board, there's a majority, and so I would work with the board. But one of the things that I've seen is that it's one thing to allow a parent to voice concerns at a board meeting, but I really think that the parent's outlook and perspective is needed on a school board in terms of curriculum. And I really think that, and if this is already being done, kudos to you guys, but these are just some of the issues that I've identified, that a parent, from a parent perspective, to be able to look at that curriculum and know they may not have the knowledge of all the math and all the algebra, but there's certain types of teaching that can filter in that is not necessary education, and the focus should be on it, on the fundamentals of education, and that's what I would like to. Would be my role as a parent, to make sure that we're following, fundamental education and be able to evaluate that curriculum, even if it means that I read every single textbook.
Thank you. Candidate Peltzer, in your vision statement, you referenced a youth mental health pandemic. How should our district address this problem?
I actually think that our district is doing a pretty good job at addressing this problem right now for what we can do. Nobody should expect teachers to become therapists. They're not therapists. My husband actually is a licensed counselor as well as a school counselor, and on top of there being laws and policies against teachers being therapists and giving out advice, I'm a parent and I have my same children day after day. I don't get new kids every year like teachers do, right? So being able to have the teacher identify the children and the problem that is presenting with them from one child to another, even from day to day from one child to another, because we all know that kids' personalities change. So nobody's expecting the teacher to become a therapist, but being able to provide them with training and support to help them better understand what our kids are going through and how they can support our children, and being able to recognize any distress in a child's life and refer them to the appropriate resources that they may need. So, like I said, yeah, I think our district is already doing a pretty good job at that, but just continuing to provide that support to our teachers and allowing them to get that additional training to help them be able to face that day-to-day issue that the kids may be coming in with and how they handle that.
Thank you. Candidate Pender, in your vision statement, you mentioned that you would like to see the district continue to retain the excellent faculty and staff that we have as we navigate a post-pandemic era. What is the biggest impact that the pandemic has had with respect to student learning, and how does a district retain excellent staff?
Well, first, the biggest impact is the learning loss. And I've said it before, despite the fact that we were in so much, there was still a significant learning loss. And students who were not in, and that was absolutely their family's right to choose to do remote learning. I think there's no doubt that they did not get the same instruction as the students that were in. And teachers are expected to kind of navigate that within their own classroom. You have some students who did have the learning loss more so than the others, and that to me is just, it's going to take a couple years. It's not a, this is the first year that we kind of had a normal school year, and that is going to be several years. When I say several, it could be 10 years before that's really kind of phased out. So we just have to continue to work together and give the teachers the resources they need, because again, increasing class sizes is not going to help. This is not a one-year fix. This is a long-term fix. With respect to student learning and how does teacher retain excellent staff, feeling appreciated. That goes further than the salary. I've had teachers. I work in a district that does not pay very high, but if the teachers feel appreciated and they can still afford, they would be glad. They would much rather stay in a place where they're appreciated. And we have to do that not only as a board, as the administration, and as parents. Everybody does here talk about how much their kids love their teachers, and my kids were the same. My youngest daughter is 15, and she will still see Mrs. Vanderscaff, who was her third grade teacher, and she will run up to her like a 3-year-old running up to Santa Claus. I mean, and looking at Mrs. Wolf, my daughters are the same with her. I mean, you have a lot of great teachers that are just such a great impact. And I'll get to part of this in my closing statement, so I don't want to give that away. But we really make sure our teachers and staff feel appreciated, and we do a great job with that. But I still, sometimes they do feel undervalued, and it starts from the building, all the way up to the top. I mean, and I think we do a great job of that, but we got to continue that.
Thank you. Candidate Rojas, in your vision statement, you mentioned a need for collaboration between the board, administration, faculty, and the community. What specifically could we do to improve collaboration between the parties?
I feel like this is kind of like, just this question kind of just brings me to thinking when I have family dinner. And so I feel like getting us together and working together and having meetings and just being together, like we have the PTO events and things like that, board members should be there, right? We should be there with the community, engaging with the community, and obviously the kids, and see who we're impacting and the things that's going on in the school. But I feel like we do that at home with our families, right? I come down, we eat dinner every night with my kids, regardless of what's going on. We sit down, we talk, hey, what's going on in your day? What's going on? Why are you, we bust out the report card, or their online grades, like you have 5 missing assignments, what's going on here? So I feel like just doing that, making time, making the effort to reach out to the board members, reaching out to admin, meeting with them, and just discussing the things and the issues that we have, and just work through it and figure out what we need to have done. And that way, obviously we keep maintaining and improving our district as a whole.
Thank you. Okay, now we are going to take a break. 60 seconds. Okay, so you get 2 minutes for a closing statement. If you'd like to make one, you're not obligated to, but go ahead, Mrs. Conley.
Did I successfully? I did. I turned it on. Yeah. So all day today, I struggled for the right words to close out with. I wasn't sure what I was going to say. And sometimes the universe smacks you in the face with something, right? Twice today, I heard the same quote from 2 different sources and 2 different venues. And it really reached out to me. So this quote is actually from the Bible. And it says, "For out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks." And I said, you know what? I should just speak from the heart, the reason why I'm here, The reason why I'm here is for my kids, When they were born, my duty in life shifted. The purpose for my existence was to protect their little lives. And as they grew, it was to become, it turned into, my role turned into molding them into good people that are able to critically think, make good choices, be productive members of society, and eventually successful, well-rounded, moral adults. And I feel like this post, being a school board member, is an extension of that God-given responsibility that I have to my children. And all it will do, I believe, being elected, it'll help me to represent the parents and the teachers of 122 and residents. And it can only expand the good that I know that I could do for my own children to work its way outward. It'll help me secure an outstanding future for my kids and all the kids that are touched by the school district. As teachers, you guys have a massive responsibility. You have massive access, spending over half of the waking year with our children. And it's a very noble duty to give the next generation the tools to reason and think critically. And it's my sincere belief that together, parents, teachers, and the board can all work together to do really great things. And so I really appreciate you guys having here again. And I hope that, if nothing, I garnered some support from someone. My name's Adelheid Connolly. I go by Heidi. And I hope that I can count on your votes. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for having us. Our district functions like a family full of heart. I want to support the progress and success of our district has achieved. I'm excited about the direction the district is heading with our strong leadership, incredible staff, family, and community engagement, and preparing students for their future. It is important to me that we keep the education, safety, and well-being of each student at the forefront of our decisions. It is also equally important that whatever candidate are voted into office have a strong understanding that the board is a collective body. The 7 board members are much stronger as a unit than they are as individuals. A great board requires trust, good communication, and agreement on a clear purpose. These are all standards that I have set and maintained as the PTO president. Under my leadership, we raised record amount of funds for the school district, adding exciting new events and fundraisers, but the highest honor was last year being named Partner of the Year by the New Lenox Chamber of Commerce. No single great act is done alone. It is done with synergy, as a whole is greater than its parts. I ask that you allow me to continue to be a great partner to our New Lenox community.
I guess I just would like to go back and talk about again that this is personal for me. I am here because I truly believe that this district is great and it can be better. We can work together between the parents and the teachers and the aides and the district and just make it better than it already is. I think that the more we give the parents a chance to voice their concerns in a safe environment, things will get easier. I think that the more we learn how to listen to each other and not feel like it's coming from a place of anger or someone feeling like this is my job, stay in your lane. Someone thinking that you know better. We need to listen to each other, and together I feel like we can actually make this district better and every kid will get what they need. It just breaks my heart that there's parents that just are afraid to speak out on what they feel their kids aren't receiving. And we need to fix that. And I feel if I'm on the board, I definitely bring a unique perspective of the special needs community. I want to educate people on what these kids need, but I also just want to bring a voice to all the families who are struggling. Thank you.
I realize this is all new territory for me, but again, I have a lot of transferable skills and life experiences that I believe that I can bring to this board. Again, we are a team. As a board member, it's all a team. So it's not my agenda only or your agenda, but I really want to bring in the parents' perspective of what their child may be learning in certain areas. So I kind of, after identifying different things, I kind of came up with things that I'm concerned about and what I'd like to see. And not that you're not doing a good job already, but I'm for improved school board communication and transparency with parents. I'm for parents having access to and having input on school curriculum. I'm for greater parental representation and input in the role of a school board member. I'm for the primary focus of education on teaching students the fundamental classes necessary for them to acquire knowledge, skills, and critical thinking, which are required for success in life, such as math, sciences, language arts, and history, to name a few. I'm for equal opportunity for all students, providing resources and extra assistance as needed to maintain high curriculum standards. I'm against what's called equity in education by lessening academic standards in the curriculum or with standardized testing and any other associated elements. I'm opposed to teaching children or promoting sexual orientation, sexual identity, or any associated beliefs. This is not appropriate for grammar school students. I'm speaking as a parent. I'm opposed to educating children about race-based concepts, promoting principles such as oppressor or oppressed, race or ethnic supremacy and inherent racism, as well as any comparable components of the CRT critical race program. The focus really should be, as educators, on the inherent value that every child, every person has, even with their strengths and weaknesses, rather than focusing on race, ethnicity, or the color of one's skin. And this type of curriculum just really promotes disunity and confusion among kids of who they are and what their value is. And this has to do with our government. I'm opposed to the teaching of explicit and extreme sexual education or similar type health programs, including, and I've researched this, defining body parts and their detailed roles in sex, types of sex, sexual expression, and sexual identity, as promoted by the acronym SICUS, which is the Sexual Information and Education Council of the United States, the Illinois Senate Bill, SB 818, and the most recent bill, HB 5188, which is now making this education mandatory. This education isn't appropriate for school-age children, and this should not be part of the curriculum. And we can no longer stand by. As a parent, as a grandparent, I can't stand by. I have to provide input as a parent representing, as a parent representative on the board. Does that mean everything's going to go my way? No, I understand that. But seeds can be planted. Seeds can be planted to just kind of look at things from a parent perspective. Do you really want your kid to learn this? Could we kind of go about it in a more modified way? And thank you very much again. I really appreciate the fact that you had us out here to give our viewpoints. Thank you.
District 122 is a phenomenal school district filled with great people. Being a part of this community has been amazing, and I would love to become a bigger part by serving on our school board. My experience from previous school board position, along with having attended the last year's worth of school District 122 school board meetings, would allow me to hit the ground running with a little bit of learning curve. I also understand the school board's role in governance and allowing administrators and teachers to do their jobs as they were hired to do without getting in their way. A board member's job is to make sure that our teachers are equipped to do their jobs to the best of their abilities with the resources as a school district that we are able to afford them. The ever-growing New Lenox community will need a vibrant and dedicated education system to continue to serve our children. The facilities and technology we have will need continual updating to make sure that our students and educators have the best opportunities to succeed in our growing community. As a school board, we will need to convey to the community that better education systems allow the town to maintain its level of excellency. While we will invest in our schools, it will not be at the financial responsibility of the tax-paying residents to foot the bill. Instead, being good stewards of the money in our operating budget will be key. I recognize my past district is not the same district as New Lenox, but it gave me the foundation of understanding a school board's role in everything from maintaining a budget to approving the staff support however it's needed. Our teachers need our full support in order to continue to educate our students at the highest level. In addition to increasing salaries and benefits, our teachers need to know that their school board has their backs and understands the daily stressors that they experience. Additional training opportunities, professional development, and self-care activities are needed to keep the staff morale high. It would be my honor to serve the children, educators, and community members of New Lenox by being elected to our school board. As many of you ask your students to give 100% in class, I promise that I will give my 100% as a school board member. I thank you for your time and consideration of my candidacy, and I hope that we have the opportunity to form a great partnership. Thank you.
As I close, I just want to say New Lenox really is a great community all around and an even better place to raise kids. As I said earlier, the school district were the single biggest factor that influenced my decision to move my family to New Lenox, and the first thing I speak about when I'm asked what I like about it, which says something because of how great New Lenox really is. If people take notice at the board meeting that introduces new hires at the start of each school year, you would notice that often many of the new hires have sacrificed tenure and come with many years of experience from other, sometimes higher paying districts because of the great reputation of 122. The next 4 years will bring with it significant events within the district. The teacher contract, which expires after next school year. The district and board are fortunate to have a good relationship with our teachers, even when we disagree. When the last contract was negotiated, it was pretty seamless, and that was at a time when quite a few local school districts had strikes, and I was fortunate enough to be on the board at that time and participate in negotiations. Towards the end of the next 4 years, will be when the next superintendent is hired. And again, I was fortunate enough to be on the board when Dr. Mach was hired. I feel my education and day-to-day work experience makes me a quality candidate for re-election. During my years on the board, I've always worked to be prepared for the board meetings and have tried my best to be very thoughtful and methodical about the decisions I've made. I've been proud to work with Dr. Mach and Dr. Manville before her. When I've disagreed with something, I did it respectfully without making a scene and moved on to the next order of business. A key component of my candidacy is to continue working together with the administration, teachers, families, and taxpayers to keep NLSD at the forefront of education. In doing so, this will help continue to educate our students to the highest standards while protecting the value of most people's highest price investment, their house. The best way to protect the value of your house is to make sure your schools are properly funded and staffed. In closing, I'd like to believe that I would be a quality choice for this position for multiple reasons. First, my education and experience as a teacher and administrator can allow me to offer a unique perspective to the daily happenings and problems that schools face. Second, my experience on the board, I believe, has served the district well. I've always tried to maintain a level head and even composure, even when I'm being yelled at and sworn at and offered police escorts to my car after meetings. I honestly think people who have disagreed with me or I've disagreed with would say that I still treated them respectfully and fairly and have tried to help them if I felt I could. And finally, I'm not running with any sort of ulterior motive or agenda other than to offer support and assistance in any way possible to keep the excellent teachers and schools working so productively. I got into education to help kids, and the board is a nice extension of that. If I'm not reelected, I hope to continue to find other ways to volunteer and hopefully positively contribute to New Lenox. So once again, my name is Bill Pender, and I ask for your support for reelection to the New Lenox 122 School Board.
I feel like I should clap.
Go ahead.
And thank you. I appreciate everything you've done. So, and I've told you that multiple times already. But for myself, I just also think I'm a pretty good candidate. Being a teacher as well, I understand the struggles from the teachers. I understand the things we went through the past couple of years. So I feel like I have a really good lens on just being there for the teachers and understanding what the struggles are. I understand there's a bunch of programs that are being pushed on, and then you have to figure it out within however many days, and then you're asked to implement that. I get all that, and I get the struggles. I also understand. I've heard the subject of larger class sizes. As a PE teacher, we have phenomenally large class sizes. When we talk about underpaid teachers for elementary versus high school, I understand that firsthand as well too. Just having kindergartners and having 70 of them in the gym, and it's like herding kittens, and I'm expected to run a curriculum like that, and I get that. So I just feel like my experiences and just my insights and being there for the teachers is very, very important, and I'm totally there for you, and I understand where you all are coming from. Admin, just the way admin has worked through this and just seeing the progress we've made through the pandemic and getting where we are now today. Kudos to you guys for that and implementing everything that you had to do with the state regulations and the arguments with parents and teachers, and the heated board meetings as well too. But I just feel like I would be a good fit, just because I'm pretty level-headed and I'm trying to keep politics out of this as much as possible. But we have some that are super extreme one way, super extreme the other way, and I feel like I'm kind of in the middle, and I understand both sides and both parties, and I think that's a valuable asset to have, especially being on the board and just be able to function as a board. And a dysfunctional board is not a good thing to have, especially in the district that works well, and it's an amazing district, and I'm glad to be here, and I think all of us are glad to be here. And I think it's super vital, like where synergy has been brought up, and just the connection between communities, the teachers, the staff, the board members. I think that's all super important in order to maintain our district and the way we are at here and moving forward. So, and I hope to implement and carry on everything that we need in order to ensure we are one of the best districts in the area. So, thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Please remember to vote on Tuesday, April 4th, 2023. Early voting begins at New Lenox Village Hall on March 20th and continues until March 31st. Enjoy the rest of your evening and drive safely.
Thank you.